Welcome back to another episode of In Good Company.
Welcome.
Today is a special one.
We got a special guest
I
on
am
today.
so excited.
Me too.
Because it's so good, I think we
Kind of know the guy.
Yeah, I kind of know him. We should just jump in now because
Let's do it.
It's so good. What is your 5-star of the week?
My 5-star of the week is the hat I'm wearing. It's a collab with 47, which is one of the better known hat companies, and an artist by the name of Tyrell Winston. And if anybody's ever seen any of his artwork, he does these like deflated basketballs.
Yeah, that's the whole art thing.
You see it at Leon, and you kind of see it across the country at more of the cooler establishments. But he custom made this for me because I reached out to him over a year ago and was like, hey, man, I'm just a big fan. Like, you know, I hope I can afford to buy one of your pieces one day. My family's really interested. And my dad is actually going to buy one. Just literally told me like a couple hours ago. But they were just really cool. And he like randomly DM'd me a couple of days ago. Was like, hey, man, like I want to send you and your family some hats. Like, what teams do you want to do? I was like, give me the Bucks, give me Golden State, and give me the Charlotte Hornets. And they sent me this, and shout out. It's dope.
Of course.
And it's like made out of silk.
I was going to say, of
vibey.
cour's the king of the Fine Arts Things Club has a silk hat on. What?
Guilty.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah.
It's such a sick
I
hat.
appreciate you. I feel like maybe your 5-star includes a hat.
Maybe it does.
Maybe not. What's your 5-star of the week?
My 5-star of the week is our new In Good Company podcast hat.
Yeah.
Jeremiah and our producer Courtney did a really good job designing it. It's like an homage to LA.
Shout out to AJ.
Shout out to AJ Romero,
Who is the artist behind these hats. He absolutely killed it. Mad talented. We need to pretty much contract him for everything.
Yeah,
moving
you're
forward.
great. I wish you guys could see the hand drawings that Jeremiah would send in. So Jeremiah would draw
Stick figure drawing. Yeah,
stick
best
figures.
I could. Like, hey, AJ,
You crushed
can you just
it, though.
make this look cool?
You crushed it. The hat turned out to be incredible.
I mean, who doesn't want one of these? Just go buy it, go support.
Beautiful hat, two-tone. It is available online. Click on the Patreon on our link, and it'll take you to the link to buy the hat. There's another one too, nice chocolate brown, and Good Company hat. Click the link down below. It'll take you to the website where you can buy all of our new merch. There's a t-shirt on there as well.
2 hats and a C.
Yeah, definitely a 5-star. Any support with the merch is greatly appreciated.
Yeah.
We want to shout out, thank you to everybody who came to our party at the social club. We had so much fun. It was incredible to see all the support, and we can't wait to provide more great episodes and definitely more merch to come. What is our song of the week?
My song of the week was recommended to me actually by a friend. I didn't find this artist, never even heard of her. Her name is Rye, R-H-Y-E. And Cameron Clipstein, our former guest, was like, yo, he just sent me, because he knows my style. He knows what I like. He goes, yo, you got to listen to the song. Send it to me. The song is called 3 Days. And it's so vibey. It's just like my type of style, like funky, poppy. Yeah. But never heard of her. She's amazing. Go listen to it.
New artist?
Relatively new. Yeah. And she'll be featured on the playlist.
Let's go.
Speaking of our favorite things, what is your movie of the week?
Movie of the week is a classic for me. One of my favorite filmmakers ever.
Give me a couple of the actors and let me see if I can guess your movie of the week.
Jack Nicholson. What's her name? Helen Hunt.
Ooh, I already know.
Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yeah. Greg
Kinnear. Yeah.
And a dog.
And a dog. A cute little dog.
As good as it gets.
As good as it gets.
You have not seen it.
Shout out Nancy Myers for making incredible rom-coms.
That's a great movie.
It's
Jack
so
Nicholson has OCD.
Mm-hmm.
Like a bad
he like
case
goes
of
out
it.
to eat and like pushes the...
I can't even leave his apartment without it's crazy.
Everything. Yeah, he does the Sandy with the...
Helen Hunt's kid is sick.
Yep.
Cuba Gooding Jr. and Greg Kinnear play like a gay couple in love.
Well, no, I think Cuba is like his gay art manager, right? He like sells his paintings.
Yes, that's
we gave
right.
away too much just now.
We did.
I did it again. No, it's okay.
Oh, my bad.
No, it's okay. Sorry, guys. Judah pulled a Judah, and I gave away the movie.
Judah just gave the whole movie away. So basically,
it is a 1997 rom-com with Jack Nicholson. Yeah. As good as it gets. It is so good. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean, most of the girls we dated weren't even born before 97. So,
movie of the week. Got to go check it out. It'll be in the Patreon. Our producer's looking at us like we're not the most intelligent. The only way to get the playlist that Jeremiah is going to curate will be on the Patreon, as well as the movie of the week will be on there with the menu for the newsletter.
And the 5 stars.
And the 5 stars.
Yes, sir.
Our guest today is top 10 all-time for NBA regular season wins, top 10 all-time for playoff wins, coach of the year, NBA champion, and who I might add beat Phil Jackson and Kobe, the LA Lakers.
And he's also my dad. Welcome.
Doc Rivers.
Dad, thanks for coming on. We appreciate you.
Yeah, it's about time.
Yeah, finally.
My gosh. You've asked everybody else.
For real.
Well, thank you for being here with us and hosting it too. So
Yeah.
I've had the privilege of meeting most of the Rivers, and they're probably the most competitive family I've ever met. Is that from you? Where'd they learn that?
Yeah, probably both me and their mom. I think we're all competitive, but I'd probably take it over to the top for sure.
Especially when it's against his sons.
Yeah.
When it's against, and his daughter, because
Yeah.
Callie might low
Might
key
be
be
the
the most competitive.
person.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
My sister is competitive as hell, man.
Yeah, the ping pong games I've heard about they get intense, right?
But you know,
Well,
like,
they get intense for them. I'm the best player. So it's not even intense for me. It's just mental warfare.
it's Jedi mind tricks. This guy's got Jedi mind tricks. It affects all of us. It affects, we've talked about it briefly, it affects my brother, Austin, the most.
Why? Because he just wants to
definitely.
beat. He just wants to beat you.
Yeah, because he's probably better if he played everybody else, but he has yet to beat me. He's
Yeah.
never going to beat
In
me.
ping pong,
He's never going to beat me.
Even like shooting competitions.
Yes.
My dad will beat him in shooting competitions.
like to this day.
Oh, yeah. It's
Really?
Just, yeah, it's
And
just
my dad has no business
not
beating
gonna
Austin in
happen.
shooting competitions.
It's not going to happen.
Have you guys ever played like one-on-one?
Oh, yeah, but I was older. I mean,
Years ago.
Yeah.
Years ago.
Yeah, Austin, I had beaten Austin. I think he beat me his sophomore year, and then I decided I'm not going to play him anymore in
Yeah.
basketball.
I mean, he was crazy athletic at that age.
Who?
Austin.
Austin,
and,
yeah.
and I was old.
Yeah,
So
my dad
I'm
was
like,
old,
I'm
yeah.
done. I'm going to get hurt I did get hurt playing tennis with Jeremiah or Oz. Was it both of you? Or
All
just-
of us.
Yeah.
I was on a family vacation
Yeah.
and we were playing tennis and I drop shotted my dad and he just took off, bro. And you end up ripping your hamstring.
Yeah, I actually
No.
ruptured my hamstring.
Ruptured his hamstring, face
just-
first on the ground,
Face
On
first.
vacation.
bleeding.
Yeah, face is cut up. And, like a good family, they waited. And then right when they saw that I wasn't dead, because they thought I might have had a heart attack.
We were
and then
like,
they were dying.
then we started dying laughing, bro. It was actually a hilarious
I had
moment.
to go to Boston and they realized I ruptured my hamstring. So my tennis days were over.
Our group family chat gets a photo from him. His whole back leg, which is blue,
Yeah.
black and blue.
We ruptured it.
Yeah, it was.
Well, that's
He hasn't picked up a racket since.
No, I'm done with tennis.
well. Now you can do ping pong, right? A little less
Ping
movement.
pong, golf, cars, even dinner can get competitive. 'Cause
Yeah.
you guys had a crazy conversation about the greatest of all time. Like anything gets competitive. Any conversation turns into a competition.
And then Seth adds in now.
And
We got
yeah.
another basketball family
yeah.
that throws into the argument.
Yeah.
And
Are
it
they
gets
really
insane.
competitive?
Same thing.
Very.
Same thing. So
And we're all
really
kind of
good.
like know-it-alls. We're all like,
Yeah.
no, we all know. You know what I mean?
Any like family competitiveness?
No, it
Not
hasn't been
yet.
But we haven't had a trip where we're all together.
I know it's bubbling because Seth just came to me and was like, yo, we need to do a whole family thing,
Yeah.
like both sides. And I was like, My unrealistic competitive ass was like, man, me and Austin, like, I think we could take Steph and Seth. You know what I mean? But they're going to burn me and Austin.
Yeah, that ain't gonna go.
No,
well.
that ain't
I
gonna
mean,
go
that'd
well.
be a really good family Olympics, though.
Yeah, we did like
we
family
need
The
Olympics.
best family
Exactly.
Olympics ever.
And our secret weapon would be Cali.
Secret weapon's going to be Cali. Do like
There's only two Curry boys, right?
2 Curry boys
And
no
a daughter.
girl.
and
Yeah.
a daughter.
Oh, they have a daughter.
Yeah,
She's
so
Oh,
that-
a good
Callie's
athlete.
cooking her.
And Sadell.
Yeah. She was a good athlete.
She's an athlete too,
yeah.
man.
Yeah. She played volleyball, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should. I want to see this now.
We have like a drinking
Like
corner. We'll have like a.
Do some unathletic stuff too, like the egg carries. You know, so
No,
like that-
yeah.
the Currys are
Yeah.
going to win the drinking corner.
yeah,
They would win that one.
that's fast.
Because they
bro.
all
Really?
can go. Yeah,
Oh,
all of
yeah.
them.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean,
they're
dude, Seth
good.
and Steph have a whiskey called Gentleman's, because it's actually really good. Yeah, but this
Well, you
Southern-
and your brother never. Every time we go out, you and Austin, and even Spencer, really, you guys.
Nah, we don't drink a whole lot. No, I do like red wine. Like
Yeah.
I'll be chilling, man. Honestly,
So you have a brother, right?
Yeah.
Were you and him just super competitive growing up?
Oh God, yeah. We had some wars, but that's probably why I'm where I'm at in a lot of ways. Because somehow I always tell the people that my goal, I guess, was to make it to the NBA, but my goal really to beat my brother Gar. Like that was my first goal, and I was a pest. Like we had one of the few basketball courts in our backyard, and he wanted to bring his friends over, but they wasn't playing unless I played. Or I would take the ball, or I would throw the ball over the fence, or I would grab the ball. I was playing. And so starting the 4th and 5th grade playing with guys are 3 years older than you your whole life, you're going to get better.
Oh, yeah.
Then
That's what Gar said. Gar said,
Yeah.
like, you grew so much as a player playing against him and his friends in the backyard. And that when they wouldn't want you to play, grandpa, your pops would come out and be like, no, like, you guys can either leave or Glenn's playing.
This is his backyard.
It's his backyard.
He's playing. And
Yeah.
So, you think about it. I never played with anybody my age group. I always played 3 years up. And that's a lot when you think about it when you're young.
Huge difference.
But it wasn't for me because that's all I played with. So that's who I played with. And my freshman year in high school, I got moved up to varsity, and that was we played a 1-on-1, and that was the first time I beat him, and he was hot.
Were you in high school or was he in high school?
He was a senior in high school.
And you were a freshman?
And I was an ingoing freshman, and he was starting on the varsity, and I beat him in front of his teammates, everybody. And that didn't heal us. So first of all, he was cheating because he was older and bigger. And I realized that I had to beat him by more than I had to beat him.
Yeah, you had to beat him.
Otherwise, he was going to just call fouls.
Yeah.
It was a great day for me.
Yeah, when you have an older brother like that, that's just pushing you.
And he was a good athlete.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I think you could say the same for Austin.
Yeah.
Austin came up playing against me and my AU teammates.
Yeah.
And we were pretty good. Like, I was like college bound. A lot of my teammates were D1, D2 college bound. And Austin would just come play pickup with us. So Austin was just getting better and better and better. And then, kind of the rest is history.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite stories when he came on. He told us about when he played KG in the gym in
that
Florida.
was nuts.
And what was it? The Truth was like, I'm good.
Yeah,
like
Truth-
after one crossover, he was like, I'm
Austin
good.
crossed him and shot and went in. Truth was like, I'm good. I'm out of here.
He beat Perk or somebody.
They beat Perk.
Yeah.
And then made a shot on Paul. And then KG is so competitive. And he scored the first we went around KG, and then KG grabbed the ball and the check was violent.
his chest.
Stuffed it in his stomach.
Was everybody in the gym watching?
Oh, then everybody was watching.
And Tony Allen's egging it on.
Tony and Paul, KG's hitting the floor. Bring it. I mean, he's slobbing at the mouth. It was so. And what was funny was Austin was trying to win. He didn't even care.
Austin was so
competitive.
young and naive. Austin's like,
Yeah.
I am trying to beat him.
Yes.
And I think Austin believed it.
Oh, he believed
Austin
it.
thot he could beat.
For
He's
about 5 minutes.
For about 5 minutes.
And then you
it
get that.
changed quickly.
I mean, Austin scored 3 in a row, and
Yeah.
I think KG was like, oh wait, shit. I
He
gotta
scored
type my
3 on
license
him?
up.
Yeah, he scored 3, and then KG was kind of goofing around. And then all of a sudden, when everybody started laughing,
Yeah.
that's when KG said, "Okay, we're finna turn this
Yeah,
up."
he's a high schooler.
They didn't know any
man.
better.
Yeah, that's wild.
The last time I was ever healthy in basketball, and it's the last time me and Austin ever played 1-on-1. I beat him 11-9. And Austin had just become, it was his rookie year in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, I went out on a high. I was like, been through all these injuries. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to challenge Austin one more time. Austin got so mad. He wanted to fight me. He was like, threw the ball into the lake. I mean, that's just like, it was a great moment for me.
Well, you and Austin were playing recently, and you did a move, and he was like, you're like, whoa, it was like a 360
basketball.
layup or
I feel
something.
like when you start playing basketball as you get older and you don't play anymore, like
You get injured.
you can get hurt.
Yeah.
And I kept telling Austin, I'm not playing. Austin, like, come on, please come out and play. And so I was like, all right, I came out. First game, I made the craziest move. I didn't know I could even do it. I go to the basket, make this crazy up and under shot, and making everybody in the gym's looking at me like, man, who the hell is this guy? Like, I didn't know you could still move like that. I like surprising myself.
Yeah, right?
The GOAT topic is probably the hottest topic ever, right?
Yeah,
And I feel like it's so different depending on what era you're in.
I don't think so.
No.
No, I think most people would say Michael, even your generation. Having said that, what I don't like about the GOAT conversation is that people believe if you pick someone, it's taken away from the other guy. It's not. I mean, I think LeBron's going to have the greatest career, or has already.
Yeah.
He has the greatest career to ever have. And actually, Kareem is second, in my opinion, as far as length of career and done all these great things. What's the one stat? And I'm killing it, so it's going to be wrong. But I think there's 5 players that have won the MVP in the regular season, won the MVP in the finals, won the scoring title, was Defensive Player of the Year, or made the defensive team. And you know who the 5 are? Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan.
Really?
That's wild.
And so, I mean, there's so many stats like that.
And you played against them.
Yeah.
And you've coached against LeBron. You've coached against Kobe.
Yeah.
You've coached against all of them.
And all of them had to grow.
Yeah.
You know, Michael's rookie year, he was dominant. So was LeBron. Kobe probably was young, so he probably took a little bit longer. You know, Michael's and LeBron's more, being a student of the game grew. It's funny, when we beat them twice when I was in Boston, I thought he was the best player in the NBA, but I didn't think he was the best student of the game. Like Garnett knew every play, everything. And now when you hear LeBron talk, that's LeBron. I remember the game when he went to Miami. We played him an exhibition game or a regular season game, and he started calling out our sets. And I want to say it was Tibbs, but I'm not sure if it was or not. Whoever was next to me, I turned and said, oh boy, we're in trouble.
Yeah, because he's figured it out.
Yeah, he's figured it out. So there's a growth spurt for all these guys.
You know, I feel like you see the top 75 players ever. They had the, kind of like celebrating them.
Yeah.
And you've heard every player be like, yo, we're excited to see LeBron and Jerry West. But when MJ walked in,
oh, it's different.
Everyone's just like the aura, the energy. Everyone's just like, yo, because Michael's not like
he's
really.
Michael Jordan.
Yeah, he's Michael Jordan. Was that same feeling felt in the locker room when you guys were with the Knicks, you know, and you guys are going against MJ and Prime Bulls? Was there?
No. Like, we got who he was.
Yeah.
I would say, you know, I hate doing the whole generation thing, but I thought the Jordan, whatever the documentary was called.
Last Dance.
Last Dance.
Yeah.
The thing that stood out to me is how competitive people were towards each other. You know, Detroit was trying to take Michael out.
Yeah.
You don't see anyone doing that.
Oh, yeah. Bill
now.
and Beer was like, no blood, no foul.
Yeah, you just don't see that now. Nor could they, or you get suspended.
Yeah.
And that's probably good for the game. But, you know, even my mindset was Michael was better than me. I got that, but not today. That was always my thought. Mike's going to have a bad night today. Oh, you're better. But tonight, it's not going to be your night. Now, that doesn't mean he didn't have a lot of great nights, but that's how you had to think. So I do think we all knew how great he was earlier. I mean, his rookie year, I remember saying there's no way a guy's going to be able to finish the season playing that hard. Because he played, that's where people don't get his intensity was extreme. And it never wavered in his whole career. I thought he wasn't going to last a year doing that. He did it for a career.
Yeah. When I watched The Last Dance and 1 year they were bagging on his defense, next year won Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, he could do a lot.
Took
And
it personal.
that's where Pippen helped. Pippen was, I mean, the one Bulls team, when you look at all the great teams statistically, I had retired. And I think that year with Rodman and all those guys, they were number one in rebounds, number one in offensive rebounds, number one in forced turnovers, number one in least amount of turnovers, best field goal percentage.
Good.
I mean, when you looked at the numbers, they literally can't lose.
Yeah.
They were number one in every category on both sides of the ball. And to me, that's what separated them. As good as they were offensively, I don't think that team got its due defensively. They were with Ron Harper and Dennis Rodman.
Scotty, Jordan.
Scotty and Jordan.
How do you score?
Did they have Kerr that year or is he gone?
Kerr was still there. Yeah. I'm not going to put Steve in one of those defensive categories.
Liability.
Let me tell you, Steve's my guy, but we were looking for Steve. Yeah. we couldn't find him, you know, because Michael and those other guys. But Steve was a sneaky athlete too. Like he's bigger than you think. When people walk up to Steve Kerr, they're always like, "Wow, I didn't realize he's that big." I
What
mean,
is he, 6'3", 6'4"?
6'3", 6'4", athletic, and obviously could shoot the hell out of the ball.
And as a player, he had a stockier build. Like, he was good. He was really good. I want to go back to, because we talked to your brother, Uncle Gar. He told me growing up you were a troublemaker.
Oh, yeah.
He said you were hot-tempered. I want you to tell a story. He said something was happening. You guys were playing Tonk. And I don't know what the guy did to you, but all of a sudden, Gar's like, I kind of like look back and I see your dad in the kitchen making a peanut butter jelly sandwich. So there's some... I want you to tell the story.
Yes, one of my brother's best friends who just kept bothering me. He just kept teasing me and bothering me. And I did have a temper when I was young. And so I had enough. So I just got up from the table. I slowly made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And I knew the whole time what I was doing. Gar and them were relaxed. And I came in with the sandwich and I opened it up and I just smacked him on both sides of the face with it, and then I ran.
Wait, Gar said Corey was your accomplice.
Oh, yeah. Corey
he held the door open for you.
Yeah, Corey was already standing at the door. And bam, got him, ran. He tried to chase me. I was fast. That was a great thing that my brother's friends could not catch me, and I knew that.
You were fast as hell.
You just slapped him in the head with the sandwich?
Oh, yeah. It was dripping down his face. And it was so awesome. I wish there was video back then.
For real.
Your childhood, you guys have phones. And if that could have been videotaped, that would have been the best
moment. That would have been
ever.
a classic moment.
Oh, gosh.
So good.
Yeah,
where did you even come up with that?
Yeah, like what compelled you?
Like you're
no
gonna
idea.
slap the face.
Even later, he said, "Why would you do that?" I said, "I couldn't think of anything."
And Corey, so you like pull Corey aside, like, "Hey, I'm about to."
Yeah, I told Corey. I said, "Hey." Corey didn't know what I was gonna do. I just told Corey, when I come out of the kitchen, I need you to have that door open so I can get out of this house because I knew it was going to be bad.
What was the situation? You try to choke out Reggie Miller.
Yeah. I don't know if I tried to choke him out. Reggie he was just talking.
He was good at that, I feel like.
He was so good. Reggie Miller was so good. And he was talking. And I had just come back from a back injury. And Mike Fratello was about to take me out of the game because my minute restrictions, even back then, but that was due to an injury. I think it was I could play 25 minutes. And Mike during the timeout says, hey, this is it. We got to shut you down. And I say, hey, I need to go out. Just let me go out for one more minute. Just give me one more minute. So I knew exactly what I was going to do because I knew I was coming out anyway. So that was my thought. Like
you're like, hey, I'm coming out. Like,
I thought Reggie was really bothering. I think it was John Battle, but I thought he was getting under his skin. And I felt like I need to do something about this. And I don't know why I choked him. I reached and grabbed him. And I think he's actually slid into my arm. When I let him go, he was struggling. Yeah, that was not one of my finer moments, but yeah, Reggie and I did a game.
But that was the era. That was the time. Like
you guys didn't get thrown out.
You guys
usually they would separate you. They wanted to make sure you were good. That game I got thrown out. I will say that. But usually you did not get thrown out. You could have a fight. Me and Charles Oakley, there's video of it. I threw him blows. They calmed us down and we went right back to playing.
You and Oakley?
Yeah.
Were you with the Hawks?
I was with the Hawks. And it was the exact same thing. He was just talking so much trash to our bigs. And, I took the ball out and he was talking. I just threw the ball at him. And then we squared off, threw punches. They separated us. It's funny, later that night, I had a bar in Atlanta called Jocks and Jills.
Jocks and Jills.
Everybody went after games. And Oak was in there in the bar. We were laughing about it.
And then y'all became teammates. In New York.
Yeah.
You, Oakley, Mason, Starks, Greg Anthony, Riley.
Patrick Ewing.
Blue collar team.
That was my Greg Anthony.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the Phoenix Suns.
That was a nasty fight. Yeah.
That was a nasty fight.
You know what people miss, though? It's funny. When the suspensions first happened, I think it was Stu Jackson originally gave me 3 games and gave Kevin Johnson 2 games. And then I asked, why wouldn't Kevin get more than me? And he said, well, Kevin just hit you with a pick. And I said, well, when did the defense start setting picks? I had the ball.
Yeah.
And then I remember Stu saying, that's right. You were on offense. I said, yeah. I was on offense and the dude set a pick on me. He just tried to take me out. And the whole buildup, that was a great example, in today's world, we should talk about it more, what media could do. Because we were the best team. We had the best record in the NBA at that point over the Bulls.
Wow.
And the second best record with the Phoenix Suns. And the Phoenix had a soft label. So coming to town, I remember reading the paper, here comes the bullies. Here comes the bullies. They're going to push around the Suns. And you could see early on. It's funny. We had a ton of fights that year, and I would go on record of saying we started very few of them. It was like people reacted to us because they wanted to show they were tough. When we saw that as a team, we laughed. We're like, this is what we do.
That's what we do.
Like, you're playing right into our hands. But he hit me with a forearm.
Because all you were doing was handing the ball off.
I was handing off. He hit me with a forearm. I fell to the floor and what made the fight because I tried to grab his foot.
Yeah, as he's falling, he's reaching for him.
And he ran.
Really?
He ran to their bench. And I got up and went through their bench. I went right in their bench and grabbed them. And our team that was on the other end sees me being the only player in their bench. And then our bench empties. And that was a brawl.
I watched a video of that.
Yeah,
That was
crazy.
Greg Anthony comes out. He's hurt.
Greg's hurt. And he
comes
has
out in a suit.
Flower shirt. He has this ugly flower shirt on.
Yeah.
And I didn't even see the punch, but I guess it was pretty bad.
Yeah, Greg Anthony comes in clots.
Charles Oakley had Kevin Johnson, and Greg comes in with a flower shirt and co-cocks him.
From off the bench.
From off the bench.
What a time.
And it was so many great stories in that. We get out, I think it was 7 of us was thrown out, probably 9 total from both teams.
Goodness.
The funniest thing was at halftime, you ever watched that fight? Riley split his pants. Pat Riley, who was dressed as well as anybody. His whole pants were split from all the way here. His hair was disheveled. I mean, he looked like a mess.
Because he was like the coolest coach. Like
by
he
far.
had the slick
He was
back
GQ.
and greatest suits.
He still dresses that way.
He was
still
Showtime
does.
LA. He does. He does.
He just has style. He splits his pants and all this. And I'm sitting in the locker room, and Riley comes in at halftime in a new suit. And I remember John Starks look at me and he's like, it's Superman. Like, where did this dude get a new suit from?
Grab my super suit.
And years later, I asked him, he said he always brought a spare because he was worried more about like spilling something.
Oh yeah.
And it just came in handy.
You got
for that game.
A backup suit is pretty.
Backup suit is
pretty sweet.
That's pretty sweet. I'm just going with the stain.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not bringing another suit.
The suits are kind of gone now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's funny. I have several coaches who thinks that was the wrong decision by us because it took away from our stature, you know, wearing a suit and tie. And you can see that.
Yeah.
But they didn't have to pack. And not bringing suits on the road is awesome.
Yeah.
Is it?
You know, wearing a quarter zip is cool. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, baseball managers actually wear uniforms.
Yeah.
And think how silly we would look if we wore the sweatsuits out. You know, so
Be kind of cool.
yeah, be
A
funny.
little bit. I also want to talk about like your mental fortitude and belief in yourself. I talked to your brother about, and I'll let you explain it, about in school when the teacher asked you, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
And it was like a project, right? You go,
Yeah.
you go up on the, I don't know what, you went up to
Yeah,
the
you had to
classroom?
walk, each kid had to go on a board and write what they wanted to be in life. And I wrote, I want to be a pro basketball player. And she started laughing. I erased it from the board and told me to be realistic and told me to write something else up on the board. And I wrote, I want to be a pro basketball player again. And then she erases it. Now the kids are laughing. And so she got upset and challenged me and like saying, you better put something else on that board. I'm sending you home from school. And so I wrote back, I went right up to the board. I wrote big, I want to be a pro basketball player.
I love that.
You are not telling me what I'm not going to be.
Right.
And I was young and I got sent home from school. So,
Did you ever see her again?
yeah, she was at one of my first 2 games.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she came to the game, very happy. You know, it's funny, years later talking to her, she was like, I wasn't telling you couldn't be. I was telling you the way you acted and the way you were in school, you were not going to be.
Yeah, so you got to do better.
Yeah, she was basically trying to tell me to do better.
It's like the Adam Sandler story. You've heard that story?
Oh yeah, they bought him a beer.
Yeah, so I mean,
The professor.
the professor.
Yeah.
Instead of in the moment where Adam Sandler could have like just stuck it to him.
Yeah.
He was like, "Hey, this is a guy that bought me a beer."
He's like
It was
professor that bought
it's
me
such
a
a
beer.
humble
Yeah.
thing to do.
Yeah.
and it was the right thing to do. You know?
Yeah, and that teacher was great for me. I mean,
Yeah.
she basically told me, you got to do better.
Yeah,
Then when you're young, you don't see that. But that's what she meant.
that's incredible. I want to talk about Maywood
Yeah.
because we've talked a lot about it with him, and you know he was learning a lot about it because it's such a historical city.
It is.
And he first started learning about it when we watched Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yeah.
And like halfway through the movie, I like looked at him. I was like, they keep showing Maywood in this movie. I was like, I don't know what the significance of it is. And then as the movie progresses, you realize all that was being taken place in Chicago, in the Maywood area.
Yeah.
And I talked to Uncle Gar, and he was explaining to me that Proviso East essentially started having race riots
Major.
because there was a girl in the homecoming court that was black.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't allow her on it.
Yeah.
And it became like this.
Well, she clearly won.
Yeah, she won.
And then she didn't win. You know, and so that started the riots. And I remember
Fred Hampton came up to the school.
Yeah, Fred Hampton was in the school at the time.
And he was the leader of the Black
riots.
Panthers at the time, right?
No, he was just went to Proviso East at the time.
Ah, wow.
Yeah, and what was crazy, I remember at that time we lived about 5 blocks from our high school, and there was a street, Washington Boulevard, and you go to Chicago Stadium, it's Madison and Washington are right next to each other. And there were state police lined up literally for 25 blocks.
Wow.
Straight down, and CBS News. It became a national riot, and the whites walked on the right side of the streets, the blacks walked on the left side of the street, and you could see them throwing things back and forth. And, you know, I'm a little kid. I think I was in 2nd or 3rd grade. I'm like, this is wow.
Was
You
Grandpa
know,
a cop?
Yeah, my dad was a cop. A lot of stuff then. And basically, what ended the riot was Proviso East basketball team.
That's what Uncle Gar told me.
Yeah, it ended the riot.
So it brought people together.
It brought them together. No one could do anything. It's a great movie that someone should make.
It's like Remember the
saying
Titans.
Remember the
It's like
Titans.
basketball
It
version.
really is. I
Yeah.
mean, it even had the racial dating component because Jim Brewer, who's my uncle, sister, Iodine, Quita, we call her everything, was dating a guy named Pete Bozeas, who was white, who was on the basketball team.
Really?
And, you know, no one knew it except for, you know, I knew it. I was a little kid. I'd go over there and he's over there. I'm not stupid, you know. But what was interesting, Proviso East they're ranked #1. They go downstate and, you know, Illinois and Indiana, high school basketball, there's nothing bigger. Like, it's nothing bigger. And they end up winning the state title. And what ended the riot was the moment they won the state title, the fans charged the floor and it was black and whites on the floor.
Wow.
There was no state police separating them, and everybody was hugging and celebrating.
It's like a healing moment.
And literally the riot went away. It was like the next day at school, there was nothing.
Wow.
The riot was over. You know, I was so young, but it did kind of shape you. You know, Maywood shapes you in a lot of ways because of all the race stuff, you know, Chicago being segregated. Jesse Jackson was huge in our life. Every Saturday morning, there was a thing called Operation Push. Jesse Jackson would come on. Fred Hampton, who went to Proviso East, I remember when he got killed, because that's what happened. They said shot, but he got killed.
Yeah.
And
murdered.
he got murdered, for sure.
Yeah.
And my dad was a cop and knew he was murdered.
And wasn't Uncle Brew close with him?
Very close. And so was my older aunties, were very, very close with them. And I remember going to my grandmother's house that day or that morning, because he got shot late at night. And I remember seeing them all crying. And I didn't know. I didn't know who's Fred Hampton. The 2 times I saw my grandmother upset and crying was that, and then Martin Luther King. You know, we're very similar years, very close years. That's the first time I ever saw my dad cry. And I'd never heard of Martin Luther King. I was 3rd grade.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember going to because we always went to my grandmother's house. And I remember walking to my grandmother's house and everybody's watching the TV. My dad was visibly crying. But my dad is a cop, and he did not show a lot of emotions.
No, he didn't.
You know, he went to the war, never talked about the war. So seeing him emotional, it made you curious. Like, who is this man they're crying over?
Yeah.
And then you literally became engrossed in studying and learning about Martin Luther King as a little kid because it affected the community.
Yeah. I knew Grandpa the most.
Yes, by far.
Because I spent every summer for like 4 or 5 years, I'd go spend a month in Chicago with my grandparents and go to Michael Finley's camp. And I got really close to Grandpa, and he doesn't show a lot of emotion, you know, but talking to you and Uncle Gar, his background and how athletic he was.
Yeah.
So he was an incredible baseball player.
Incredible. People still...
One of the best in the country.
Yeah, even me, when I went through high school and I was the #1 player in the country, I'd go get my hair cut and the barber said, your dad's still the best athlete to ever walk in Maywood. You know, like they didn't even want to hear my stuff.
Really?
He was the first black athlete to go to, I think it was Texas, one of the Kentucky schools, Kentucky Wesleyan, Kentucky something. And then he got drafted for the war. And he hurt his hand. And so he never played baseball again. So I played baseball growing up. I played basketball and baseball.
His thumb was shot?
Yeah, he got a shot. He was in the Air Force, got a thumb shot. And like you remember,
it was permanently stuck.
It was permanently in that same position.
I was telling Judah, I was like, he couldn't grab a baseball bat anymore.
Yeah.
You can't throw a ball. His thumb was permanently stuck like this.
In that
grabbing
position.
coffee cups.
Yeah.
I always remembered it.
Yeah.
And it freaked me out as a kid because no one explained it to me.
Yeah.
So I remember asking mom and dad, I'm like, is my thumb going to get stuck like that? Like,
It'd be
I had
hard
no
to be
idea.
the best.
Yeah, it's funny. He wouldn't even, like, we pieced it together. Like, he didn't just, I think that whole generation, the Korean War and Vietnam, they didn't come home and talking about the war. You know, I don't remember my dad talking about the war for 1 second.
Really?
My entire life. And to the point when he died and you were at the funeral, all of a sudden the military walks in, they put the flag on the casket, they do the gun salute, and you forget that he was in the military.
Yeah, my grandfather was a drill sergeant in the Marine for like 30 years.
Yeah.
Never talked about it, but I remember when I was a kid, he had dementia, and my grandma would be like, go feel his back. And he had these notches in it. He got shot like 7 times in the back throughout the Korean War and Vietnam. And he just had these rivets in his back, but he never talked about it. And maybe that's because it was so hard, you didn't want to even think about it again.
Yeah, that was historically, that's guerrilla warfare, which we didn't know of.
Right.
You know, we thought we were fighting
Civilized.
fair.
Yeah.
And we realized, no, that may be the way to go, you know. So that was just a hard time.
Yeah. And I remember, I mean, he becomes a cop.
Yeah.
And then he has a side hustle or side passion. He has a record shop.
Record store. That formed me.
Really?
Yeah, because I love music. See the albums behind me with Jeremiah about that. But I would go to school and then I'd come home and work in a record store. And that was albums, you know, albums and 45s, which you guys probably don't even know what 45s are.
I don't. You do?
Yeah, it's a little smaller one.
The little smaller ones. The little smaller ones you put the peg in. But no one, you couldn't go in a record store and put on your iPhone and play the song. So I had to hear people sing. Every day they would come in the store, because no one, I don't even know the name of some songs or who made it, but people would come in your store and start singing the song. and you were trying to figure it out. Like, so you would play it, and you had to play each song to make sure that the record wasn't scratched. That was back what you did back then. So you would play it, and then the lady said, no, that's not it. Then that's not it. Then that's not it. And then when you finally picked the song, the reaction was priced. Oh, yes. And they want you to keep it on, but you say, no, I got customers behind me. So it was cool.
What was the name of it?
Nation Time.
Nation Time.
Nation Time record mark. And
what do you think it meant?
I have no idea. That's a great question. Time. Yeah. But I know he was the first Black owner of a record store in Chicago.
Really?
Yeah. And I remember us going to the distribution center. It was like going to Home Depot for albums. I mean, they had everyone, and my dad always would have a list of all the R&B albums. The Rolling Stones were not selling at Nation Time.
No.
Or the Beatles. No, you didn't get, there was not one Beatles album in our record store.
What was selling in the record store?
Everything. Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, that whole group.
Otis Redding.
Yeah, Otis Redding. And, Michael was just starting to come up.
Yeah.
But I have a huge history of music.
Marvin Gaye. Just everybody. It was just a beautiful time. Earth, Wind, and Fire, the great groups. It was an awesome time to be growing up for a kid. And then that's also the time we saw my dad in action. Someone broke in one night. No way.
Yeah, I remember we were at home, and my dad scared us anyway. He carried a gun.
Yeah.
And he was big. My dad was my height.
He was a big dude.
And he was big.
He was big.
He wasn't heavy. He was just put together. And, everyone was scared of my dad in the neighborhood. Like, they loved him. It's the way, it's the way it should be now. My dad always said this, community policing is the way to go. Everybody on the Maywood police force, we knew their name. I knew all the cops. They all were over my house all the time. But my dad knew everybody. He was the coach of all the baseball teams. People would bring their kids over. I bet once a week I would come home and some kid was sitting there with their mom, and my dad was telling them, don't do that again, or you need to do better in school. And, he was more than just a police officer for our town. And that's what we need back,
hands-on.
Yeah, hands-on. And, you're more comfortable when you know the cop.
Yeah.
When a cop pulls you over, it makes a difference if I know his name and if he knows me.
Yeah.
And so we were in there cleaning the glass up on the record store. My mom went in to get the broom in the closet. She reached in and she touched the guy's arm. He was still in the store. And me and my brother were just sitting on the couch, half asleep because it was like 1 a.m. And I'll never forget my mom walking out just backwards and couldn't talk. She was like frightened.
Whoa.
And my dad reached and got that guy out, and he did not have a good 10 minutes.
Really?
He was off duty, and it did not go well for my dad. And the police hadn't come yet, so he had to hold him till they came. He wasn't moving much anyway.
Really?
And me and my brother was sitting there like, whoa, I'm never messing with my father, ever. But what was, I thought, the coolest thing, and obviously you would never do it now, or you should. I remember the police came, they knew him, they put the handcuffs on him, and my dad told him to take the handcuffs off, let him go.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, I did ask that. What was that about? He said, well, he just got his butt kicked by me. I want him to make sure he tells everybody, don't mess with that store.
Damn, what a wild story.
Yeah, because he's going to be like, hey, y'all do not go to this one.
Tails between his legs, let him go.
It was so funny because I thought he was doing it for a humanitarian reason. Like, man, that's nice to let that guy. He said, no, I know his crowd, and I want him to make sure he tells everybody. That's a store you don't bother. It was never touched again.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's something I give you and Mom such great credit for is our house was a community house. And you and Mom have changed and helped so many people. We've adopted people. We've taken people into our family and helped them in any way we could. And I feel like every week I'd come home, Austin would come home, Austin's teammates were there. Maybe one of my teammates were there. And it was just kind of like a safe haven for them, and a place for they can
that came from my parents.
100%.
Yeah, I remember coming home and some guy was sleeping in my bedroom, because we didn't have but 2 bedrooms. And I was like, who's this guy? This guy named Castle Reed. He lived with us for about 4 years. It wasn't like he was sleeping.
Really?
There, he moved in.
I didn't know this. Castle Reed?
Yeah, Castle Reed.
What a name.
Stayed with us. He was older than my brother. Became part of our family, did well in life, and that was my parents. My mom and dad were my dad had a strange set of rules because he was hard.
Yeah.
He was rough.
Yeah.
He was hard, but he had a heart of gold. Like he loved his neighborhood. He loved the people in his neighborhood, but he also don't cross them. And he had like no, I don't know what it was. Yeah, maybe it was common sense. You know, I remember some kid got killed in the alley, and my mom was like at the table and was like, "Oh, Grady, this kid is such a good kid." And my dad was like, "Yeah, he was a good kid, I bet," because my mom was Betty. He said he was a good kid, Betty. He was walking down the alley at 3 a.m. Yeah, he was a really good kid. And I remember the sarcasm, like, and that was the hard side of him. Like, no, he was not a good kid.
Yeah, he wouldn't have
and he
been there.
saw that too. He knew who was good and who wasn't, and he did not play the game.
I feel so blessed. I think as you get older, you realize how incredible it is to have parents, you know, 2 parents, which I've had, 4 grandparents, you know, who are all amazing. My mom's side, my dad's side, and my grandma Rivers, you could not persuade her to drink Coca-Cola. She was like, she would die on the hill of Pepsi over Coke all day long. And to this day, I had the coolest grandma. She gate kept her spaghetti recipe. No matter anybody in the family asked for it, she would like give like 90% of it.
No, she wouldn't give it all. No.
But she has this special spaghetti. I don't even know how to explain it. It's like,
It's the sauce.
it's spicy and it's sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the most incredible.
Do you have it? Do you have the recipe?
Nobody has it.
We have it in like a family book, but like she left out shit.
She left out half the stuff.
You gotta find it yourself.
Yeah. I think my brother's wife has gotten the closest because she makes it. And I think she's gotten the closest to making it, but it was not going to be shared. She wanted that for herself.
That's one of my favorite Michael Irvin videos right now that's going viral. And he's like, we're losing recipes.
That was fast.
He's like talking about girls nowadays how like they don't cook and they're
I haven't
different. He's
seen
like,
that, but that's true.
He's like,
That's
girls do different
very
these days.
true.
We're losing recipes. And I was just dying. It's one of the
I
funniest.
love that.
And even like Chicago lingo is like, because we travel so much, like because of your job. My grandma would be like, let's go to the show. And I'd be like, well, I don't even know what's the show. And it's the movie theater. I remember one time she was like, hey, go grab some pop in the fridge. Yeah. I went and loaded up a bucket of popsicles. I'll never forget it. I loaded up a bucket of popsicles, like all proud, like, okay. And she looks at me, she's like, honey, child. Soda is pop.
They still call it pop.
Still call it pop.
Yeah.
Still call it pop.
Don't even know why.
Yeah, that's.
And then you go
soda pop.
You go to some places, they call it soda pop. Like you go to
that's the South.
Yeah, you go to soda pop.
Yeah.
So at Proviso East, you're coming up. At what moment did you start becoming Doc? Like you're Glenn Rivers.
Oh, I was Doc the moment I signed in Marquette.
Oh, so not in college. It didn't start there. Or in high school, I'm sorry.
Well, no, it didn't start in high school.
Oh, okay.
I was Doc in Milwaukee. I went to a basketball camp with Marquette in Milwaukee. And Rick Majerus and Al McGuire were there, the two legendary coaches. Yeah. And when I checked in, I think I was a freshman in high school, and I checked in and I had a Dr. J t-shirt on. And unbeknownst to me, Rick Majerus tells Al McGuire, he said, watch this kid. He can really play. At the end of the week, the Milwaukee Bucks, back then teams would come in and play at basketball camps. You know, NBA teams would like practice in front of you. And they only had 9 players and they needed a 10th. And so Al McGuire walks out on the floor and says, hey, Doc, we need a 10th. Well, I don't know who Doc is. So I'm just sitting there like all the other kids. And he's pointing at me. I'm looking around and he's like, you, Doc, get out here and play. And so it was $9 and me. I was a freshman in high school. And
where do you get Doc from?
The t-shirt. I had Dr. J on my t-shirt. And instead he just started calling me Doc.
And then boom.
Yeah, I got a breakaway dunk as a freshman playing the Bucks. Now they wasn't playing that hard, but I was. Yeah. I was Austin.
Exactly.
Just like Austin.
Yeah. But I got a dunk and it was cool and all that. And at the end of the camp, I kept telling Al and Rick, my name's Glenn. And they said, yeah, Doc. You just didn't even hear it. And so it's funny, I think my mom still has that scrapbook when she had a scrapbook of me. And in Chicago, it says Glenn Rivers signs with Marquette. And in Milwaukee, it says Doc Rivers signs with Marquette.
Oh, wow. Whoa. Yeah. We got to frame that.
Yeah, that's got to be framed.
Yeah, because they never. And so it's cool, too, because when I playing or coaching and someone from the stands yells, Glenn, I know they're from Maywood because I'm still Glenn at home.
It's true. Every time we go back to Maywood, everybody calls my dad Glenn.
Yeah. And there's that one Doc.
And do you like that?
I love it because it makes me feel like I'm home.
Like you're home.
Yeah.
That's so
cool. It makes it special.
I mean, the high school you went to, Proviso East, I mean, I don't know if it's a record or it's definitely in the running with the most NBA players out of.
It's a record.
Out of a public school.
If
you know what I mean?
don't count recruiting.
Right.
You know, all these schools that recruit and they have all these people. Well, Maywood has 11, Proviso East has 11, maybe 12 now, because I think someone else just made it. 12 NBA players from one town.
I want to read the
And it's
list.
like a public school, just a normal public school.
Yeah.
No recruiting.
No recruiting.
You can't just go to a Proviso because they're good.
I mean, Proviso is also a small town. It's not huge.
You have to live-
Maywood's small, but Proviso's huge. Proviso East
Oh, right.
is
Proviso,
like
yeah.
5,000
But Maywood's
students.
small.
Yeah, Maywood's small.
Maywood's
But you have to be on that 21 blocks to go to that school. You can't live
Yeah.
outside
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. That was it. And
Jim Brewer,
yeah, that's one.
Sterling Brown,
Yeah.
Stephen Hunter,
Yeah.
Shannon Brown,
Yeah.
D. Brown,
Yeah.
Michael Finley, Sherelle Ford,
Yeah.
Donnie Boyce,
Yeah.
Doc Rivers.
Yeah, there's more. A guy named Reggie Jordan, and he's the greatest. And there's 3 or 4 more we're missing. Reggie Jordan's the best of all the stories. He never made the team.
That's
Well,
what
you never
LeBron
made
was
the high
telling
school
me.
team?
Got cut 4 years.
What do you do after the 4 years?
Went to college. Went to a JUCO. Kept playing. Finally got
That's
on.
cool.
Made it to college, to one of the big schools, and then he played for like 4 or 5 years.
He's like, I am
Yeah.
making it to the league.
Was that an attitude thing?
Did you say Javon Carter?
I didn't say Javon Carter.
Yeah,
no.
Javon Carter. There's another one now. Well, there was 2 Browns that played, Sterling and his brother, Shannon.
really?
Shannon and Sterling.
Really?
Yeah. So
You know how many players? That's like 14 players, 15
From
players.
one high
One
school.
high school.
Yeah.
Didn't you say that you like at a camp or something? That was one of your kind of like Austin moments
For
playing
me,
with
yeah, it
bigger
shaped me
people?
because like blacktop basketball, street basketball was not a thing like in the South. Like it was for bigger cities, you know, it was like New York, Chicago. And so I never really experienced it until I went to these camps. Because what would happen was I'd go to Michael Finley's camp and Shannon Brown, D Brown, they're all older than me, but they were at the camp too. And Shannon was on my team. And so me and Shannon ended up winning the championship. But after Michael Finley camp, we'd go play street basketball.
10th Park.
At 10 Park.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, I've never climbed a fence in my life, dude. I'm just like, you know, some little naive, you know, kid. Like, and I remember like, they're like, you got to hop the fence. I was scared to death. I was like, hop the fence is like 15 feet in the air, by the way. And so I was like, I got to hop the fence. And there was this guy named Moon there.
Yeah.
And I didn't know I was related to him. I remember this one kid's like, hey man, like, don't talk to him. He's crazy. Like, don't talk to him. He comes up to me. He goes, hey, Lil Rivers, hop the fence. And I was like, oh man, like I'm gonna get beat up. I didn't know what was going on. So I hopped the fence, and you know, I never gotten downs before on a basketball game. And Moon basically like held my hand through the whole situation, helped me get downs, and then from there on, like it was just second nature to me, and it was like a blast. And we'd go every day after camp.
You went every day, all day. Isaiah Thomas tells the crazy story about him and I. He was a senior and I was a junior in high school. And he came, you know, played in our park. You know, everybody played at each other's park. Growing up, for us, you would hear Mirror House or South Shore. I mean, I still know all the names. You would hear about a game.
Really?
And you get there through the bus, the train, or someone would have a car and 10 people get in. And you'd go play. Well, on this one night, and Isaiah tells the story, he exaggerates, in my opinion, but they beat us the first game, and this part is true, and this never happened. The park rules were broken because they beat us the first game, and the guys who had next said, no, y'all play again. And it was
So
literally...
they skipped their downs and said, y'all
Yeah,
play.
y'all
Y'all
play-
run
you're
it
playing
back.
Isaiah
we want-
Thomas.
Yeah, we want the rematch. They want the rematch. And so, I mean, it was literally hundreds of people hanging on the fence. I mean, it was
Like Rucker Park,
It
bro.
I
was
was
at
gonna say
night.
this is like
Yeah.
the beginning of pickup basketball.
It was
Yeah.
at night and it was packed. And Isaiah tells a story. See, I think it's reverse. He tells a story. We won the second game. I actually thought we won the first. They won the second. He says, we won the second game and they still got ran out of the park.
They got ran out?
Oh, yeah. He talks about it. They had to run through the park and they had to go in the rec center and they were held up in the rec center until the police came to get them out. Because you could come in, Maywood, you just couldn't win it. You better not win.
Wrong side of town
Yeah,
for
wrong
that.
side of town.
Come and play,
That's
there's rules.
crazy.
Yeah, but there's
That's
rules to it.
hilarious.
So I don't agree. It wasn't that nuts, but it could get rough at times, but not like that.
Yeah.
I do remember the game. Isaiah and I played on it's called the Junior Trotters. It's we didn't have AAU.
Like mini
But
before
there's
they.
a guy named Michael Carter. He was a cop, and he used to pick up. I don't know. Would pick the best players around, and he would put us on the team, and we'd go play at different places. And we played at the Rockwell homes, and that was probably rough. Cabrina got but the Rockwell you didn't. That was
Didn't want to go there.
no, that was rough.
Where?
Called the Rockwell homes,
Oh, the
and
Rockwell Homes.
we were up. And Sergeant Carter, because that was his name, called the timeout with like 3 minutes left. He said, hey, I don't know if we want to win this game. And me and Isaiah was like, what? I don't think it's a good idea to win this game. So just look around. You did see people all of a sudden start to come in.
Start closing the exits off.
Start coming into the gym.
What?
And we won and we ran. We won and got out of there.
What's the story when you, Coop, and Craig
Yeah.
went to some house party during high school, went to on like a rival high school?
Yeah, Proviso West.
Proviso West.
Shouldn't have been in there. Craig, my best friend, him and Corey were my best friends growing up, and Craig was dating some girl from the other high school, and we were about to play them the next day. And Craig wants to go, and me and Corey know it's a bad idea. We're like, this is not a good idea.
Yeah.
And the two stories out of that was the first one is, they're in the base. It's a basement party. That's what you had, black light basement parties.
Blacklight basement parties.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
It was awesome. I mean, my childhood was awesome when I think about it. But I remember the Proviso West players just talking trash. And Craig does it the best. I said, every time you say something, that's a basket. That's how cocky I was and arrogant. And I was like, that's 2. That's 4. That's 6. And I meant it too. And I think it got up to like 46. And I said, you're getting 46 tomorrow night.
Talking that shit. I love that.
And then we walk out and they kind of circled us. And me and Corey knew this is not going to be a good night for us. And Craig, my friend, does the Rodney King, like, hey, listen, everybody, can we all just get along? I remember that, and all of a sudden, whap, someone hit him in the jaw.
Someone just came in and bop.
Can we all just get along?
Yeah.
Bam.
And then there was a fight. We fought our way out. We ran and got out of there. But the next day,
How was that game?
I had a huge game. I want to say in the 50s, but it was great. It was a great moment.
And you got the win?
Oh, yeah, we didn't lose much. So,
Really?
Proviso East doesn't lose much.
But like that, I think that time is so much different now.
I know. I
With
just
AAU,
think
no?
every generation is different. We didn't have AAU growing up.
Yeah.
We had nothing.
Yeah, the blacktop.
We had the
Yeah,
blacktop. We had the Parks versus Parks. They had this thing called the Boston Shootout, which was phenomenal. It was unbelievable. I wish they could create it now because it was cities versus cities. And there was no gym shoe company. Like, you can wear Adidas, Nike. They didn't care. It was the top 10 players out of the city versus the top 10 players. When I went, it was Chicago, New York, Boston, DC. I'm missing places, but it was awesome. And my senior year, I know we were in the semis against New York, and I got knee in the thigh. They gave me 4, and at halftime I was playing awful. I was just having a bad game, but they just kept talking trash. And we lit them up in the second half. Not just me, our whole team. We blew them out. And because this Chicago thing, this New York thing for us is a myth. I hear Kenny Smith and all these guys, like, it's not even close. Chicago's got way better players. I'm from Chicago, so I'm biased. And it was so awesome to like prove it that night.
Yeah.
And I think we ended up losing the next game of DC in the finals.
Really?
Yeah.
DC sneakily,
Well, that's because it ain't DC.
they get Baltimore, they get Maryland, they get Virginia.
Yeah. And so it's a little sneaky, but they
Yeah.
were stacked. They were good, really good.
I mean, DC,
And what's-
that region, I mean, the amount of players, Sam Cassell, Oladipo, it just goes on and on. The
Yeah,
list.
Dunbar
Jeff
would be
Green.
the other high school
Yeah.
that rivals Proviso, but I think in Dunbar you can come from out of area.
Out of area.
Yeah, I don't know that, but that would be the best local high school that I know of.
When you got drafted, you played against, would you say, in terms of who you played with, Dominique was the most talented player you ever played with?
Yeah, he was definitely most athletic.
Y'all had such an incredible duo between you two.
When you play with Ewing too, though.
Play with Ewing
and
was,
David Robinson late.
David Robinson.
Yeah, so I played with really good players. Listen, I not only play with really good players, the coaching I received in the NBA, when you think about it, Mike Fratello, who doesn't get his shine, but he was probably the best defensive coach in that era at that time, was amazing. Then I go from that to Larry Brown, from Larry Brown to Pat Riley, from Pat Riley to the whole Spurs system with Pop and all that. So,
RC.
And Bob Hill was the coach,
Bob Hill.
who was a phenomenal offensive mind. Dick Harder was maybe the worst name ever. Dick Harder. Can you imagine as a kid?
That's just evil, man.
Yeah.
Dick Harder.
Dick Harder. Is
Yeah, but just
crazy.
think as a kid, when they read your name backwards the first day of school, that could not have been a good day for him.
Harder, Dick.
Yeah. So anyway, we used to always think about that, like, oh man, his first day of school had to be miserable.
Has to be.
But he was Pat Riley's assistant coach. He's the defensive guru. You know, Jeff Van Gundy, myself, Tom Thibodeau, he taught us all. Like all of our defensive acumen started with him. Now we've grown. But Jeff Van Gundy was the assistant for the Knicks when I played for the Knicks.
Wow.
And I was a year older.
Than he was.
As a player.
Yeah, I'm a year older than Jeff Van Gundy. Now, I know if you look at us two, you don't think that. But,
No.
but I am. I'm a year older than Jeff Van Gundy. And I didn't even know until like mid-year. I know he's rebounding for me, and he said his age. And I was like, wait, I'm older than the coach? What? You know, but think about also, it was Dick Harder, Jeff Van Gundy, and I want to say Willis Reed. That was it.
Really?
That was a whole coaching staff.
That was a whole coaching staff?
Yeah, back when I played, there were 2 coaches, the head coach and 2 assistants, or the head coach and 3 assistants. That was it now. You know, when I played, there was 1 trainer. He also was the equipment manager. He did everything. You know, think about my first 8 years in the league. We flew commercial flights. The rule was you had to take the first flight out every morning to wherever you were going. Those flights were brutal, 5:30, whatever, to that city. But at the beginning of the season, Joe O'Toole, who was a legendary trainer, would hand you out your equipment, meaning your uniform, your practice gear, and it was yours. You kept it.
You had to wash it?
You washed it. You kept it. That story with Barkley, you know, when he said he took a shower after the game in his uniform to clean it.
Yeah.
Now, that's just nasty. Having said that, I washed my uniform every night in the sink or in the bathtub. You would wash your uniform and wring it out, dry it, and you would pack your own uniform. You kept it. You had your gym shoes with you. You put them in the bag. Like, I'm just 2 years ago. Think about this. 2 years ago, I finally let go of someone. Like, no one touched my sneakers. That was our day. Now,
Really?
the guys get to the gym, their sneakers, they have them.
Yeah.
And I finally let go of that. And so it's still uncomfortable. I show up at practice and they hand you.
And occasionally you'll get a player who like somehow forgot his sneakers now.
Or shorts or jersey.
Oh, yeah. I
or-
wore one, I knew it was in Boston. I forgot my top. So I had to wear another number. What changed for us is Moses Malone, I think it was my last year with the Hawks, washed his red uniform with the white uniform.
I got a little pink jersey.
It was pink.
That's hilarious.
The owner, Ted Turner, called and said, that can never happen. He played in the pink jersey, basically.
Really?
And from that point on.
So Ted Turner was the owner at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Turner
He was
Sports,
awesome.
TNT.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ted Turner was the best. He was a great owner. He writes me a letter up until a couple of years ago. I think he has dementia and not doing great, but up until a couple of years ago, he would write me a letter every year. Just to check in, say you're doing great, and keep it up.
That's incredible.
That's so.
Yeah, he was a maverick.
What was your favorite place to play when you were a player?
Yeah.
Because you played in
Chicago's because I was from Chicago, but probably either the Forum or Madison Square Garden.
Madison Square.
I mean, those, think about it, the only arena left is Madison Square Garden.
Oh, you're right.
For my rookie year, the only arena left in the NBA is Madison Square Garden.
That's crazy.
And that's not going anywhere.
No.
That's not going anywhere.
Right? Like maybe they replaced the floor.
Yeah.
I know I'm partial and biased because we have so many great memories with the Celtics. And
Yeah. That's the best.
I would argue I was too young to really remember Madison Square, but if you go to Madison Square now and when the team is good, it rivals Boston. Like it's just absolutely rocking in there. Boston is also
Boston is the best for me because
Boston's crazy.
obviously I won a title there.
Yeah.
But the fans were phenomenal.
Yeah.
Even to this day, I go back to Boston and they thank you. And they that was an awesome time as a coach. And then I played in that great series against Boston. And when I was with the Hawks, people still think it's one of the more perfect games played. Dominique had, I don't know the numbers, 40-something. Bird might have had 50-something or vice versa. I think there were 4 or 5 turnovers in the game.
It's a fun game to watch.
Yeah, total turnovers. And, it's funny. I thought I had an awful game for 15, 20 years because we lost. And I remember DJ stripped me right before the end of a quarter. And so you internalize that. And I remember doing one of the lockouts. I was coaching the Celtics, and they wanted me to do that. They were showing old games, and they wanted me and Danny Ainge and Tommy Heinsohn to do that game. And I did not want to do it. And I remember saying, I was awful. I'm not doing that game. No, thank you. I had never watched it again. We lost the game 7. That was just heartbreaking for me. That was my shot.
Yeah,
Then that and the Knicks, the Charles Smith layup thing.
Smith layup, yeah.
But I remember Danny brings a stat sheet, and I had an incredible game. It's amazing how your mind works. I don't even know what the numbers are, but it was like 18 points, 13 assists, like 4 steals, and all I could remember was the turnover.
Yeah.
It's so funny how your brain works.
I don't think there's anything. It's one of the more humiliating things, getting ripped.
Oh, at half court.
At half court,
yeah.
You see it now. When a player gets ripped at half court, typically they do not recover.
Yeah, you don't see it much now.
No, you don't see it, but
no one pressures. Everyone pressured back then.
Who was Avery Bradley? Like, he would rip somebody because he could just pressure you full
he
court.
was awesome. Yeah.
Whoever he ripped, like, they probably wouldn't be the same the rest of the game. It just does something to you mentally.
Yeah.
We hope you guys are enjoying this episode. If you are in luck because we have part two of this episode coming out next week.
First time ever on this pod.
First time ever.
A part 1 and a part 2.
Series.
Because it was just that good.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next week. We hope you enjoyed this episode of In Good Company.
If you're enjoying this show, it would mean the world to us if you left a 5-star review. We love 5-star reviews. And subscribe to the pod.
This is a reminder, if you want to watch our episodes, you can do so only by subscribing to our Patreon, where you also get access to the menu and some fun announcements we have coming up.
And don't forget,
the only thing better than good food is good company.